Welcome to the Arsaholics podcast. This is our second episode in a few days. It's our second loss in a few days. It's our second on the whistle and second on the whistle recording after a loss. So, I mean, it's really tough times for us. I feel really sorry for us personally. And guys, do you know what? Let's start. How do you feel? We've just lost 2-1 to Everton, beaten in injury time. Guys, how do you feel?
Yeah, it's this like the defeat on Thursday, was it? We played United was quite a tough one to take. It always is against United, but you kind of came away from that game thinking it's probably not season defining. This feels like a really kind of like big hammer blow for a number of reasons. Like in terms of the context of our season, like we obviously previewed this game in the last episode. And it feels like off the back of that really good unbeaten run, everything's kind of come crashing down a little bit. And I'm not sure if that was false hope, that run that we had that got us up to fifth. But in the context of our season, it's a huge defeat. 2 defeats in a row, obviously. And when you look at the other weekend results as well, with the teams around us and the teams that we are supposedly competing against for the sort of top 4, 5, 6 places, they all won. Big defeat. And I mean, look, in terms of the game itself, I know we're going to get into it, so I'm not going to go too deep into it, but I don't know what the right word is, like furious, pissed off, annoyed, bit of a shambles really, or like when you look at everything, just a lot wrong today. Just not very happy. I mean, like I said, following Thursday, I was disappointed, I was annoyed, it was frustrating, but I kind of accepted it as United are still a pretty good team, and they're going to win a lot more games this season, and they're sort of on their bounce back period. We played them at the wrong time maybe, but today was just it was just farcical really.
What do you think, Aaron?
Yeah, I think Myers nailed it really. I think this just highlights where we are as a team, and we always knew that we had these characteristics as a team. We always knew that we have the capability to lose games. I don't think anyone thought we were going to win the league or we were going to go on a 15-game winning run, but I think it's the manner and the way we lost. It was very much the worst of, if you look at Arsenal over the last 2 years under Arteta, and you think of like the worst points in terms of like bad decision making, bad team selection, questionable tactics, questionable game management, all of that happened today, and it's just completely unacceptable. There's no excuses really. And I think like you said, Miles, on Thursday, I think I came away from the game thinking, okay, fine, we lost, but I don't think we played that badly. And I don't think the manager made mistakes. I don't think the players made too many mistakes as such. I think it was just one where United took their chances and we were, pretty poor in terms of finishing the chances. But today, I think the manager made mistakes and the players on the pitch made mistakes. We didn't create enough. And then the chances we did create, we didn't finish. And we also, defended pretty poorly as well, I thought. So it does, I think in terms of the context of the table, you're right, Miles, like the results didn't go away, but I'm not too worried about, okay, how does this affect our final league position? Because I think the teams around us will continue to drop points. But it's just really, really frustrating because it just feels right now, it's like once we took one step forward, but now it feels like we've taken 2 steps back with these last couple of defeats and the Liverpool game as well. So yeah, really hard to see how we pick ourselves up from here.
I think I'm a bit more concerned than you are, Aaron, with regards to kind of what it could mean for the rest of the season. I think Mize was sort of, I think I'm going to just be consistent with some of what Mize's sentiments were. I think my worry with this is the other teams. We're at this point now where United have basically they're now going to be on an upward trend. Where that's what all the evidence suggests.
Thanks to us, right?
Thanks to us. Well, they drew at Chelsea, beat us, and then they won the last game. They've got this new manager coming in. It's all nicely kind of, everything would point to an upward trend. You had West Ham, who, there's that hope. We're kind of saying, oh, West Ham will drop off. Well, West Ham will drop off. Okay, maybe they will, maybe they won't. But to be honest, no one expected them to beat Chelsea the other day. They did. So it's a bit of a concern there. Tottenham may also still continue to do better under Conte. I think the concern for us is if we ever were going to finish fourth, we had to rely on all those things not going so well over the course of a season. And for us to maintain this habit of seemingly beating the teams that we're meant to beat, because that seemed to be happening at least, where we sort of thought we were doing enough in terms of we've got enough of a defensive structure to deal with teams that aren't really better than us on paper.
Yeah.
And today, it just wasn't that, right? It was just everything that was going wrong against the better teams seemed to go wrong today against Everton in many respects. Well, okay, I think I'm going over the top there, maybe more so with kind of more similar to what happened against United. Essentially, we didn't have to be very good today to get a result. We didn't have to be that good today at all. But we still managed to somehow lose. And the first half was awful, yet we still managed to score. So we're given this lifeline. And I guess we'll get into the details of the game, but I'm a bit concerned now how ultimately for us to finish top four, I think, it requires a lot more character and a lot more resilience than this. And we haven't done ourselves any favors at all, given the momentum that the other teams have started to show.
So I'll ask a question that, is the elephant in the room here, is that do you guys blame the manager for this? And do you ultimately hold him accountable?
So I'd be intrigued to see what you think, Miles, but I didn't actually have an issue with this team selection today. And I know that we disagree about that. We can get onto that. I didn't really have an issue with this team selection, just on the basis I think the team that he put out should be winning this game. But I do have a massive issue with the fact that he wasn't able to motivate our players and set us up even tactically or whatever, however you want to call it, tactics, motivation, however you want to call it, in-game changes. He wasn't able to do whatever he needed to do to win this game. And again, I think here we can't find we're a young team, but this is his second full season, so he's had time. So this isn't a case about needing time to get your ideas across to people to understand what you're talking about and trying to say. No, that doesn't apply anymore. So I do blame him a lot for today, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I pretty much agree with what you just said, Raj. And it was a weird performance, like you said. That first half was poor. We seem to go back. We seem to go back to that kind of phase in our Arteta kind of evolution where we didn't have this cutting edge, and maybe it was because there was no Auba. It could be one of a number of reasons, really. And that's what we saw in that first half. The second half, I felt like was a bit of an improvement, and I say that when I say an improvement, I guess what I mean is in terms of chance creation, we actually created quite a few decent openings, and obviously two very, very good chances, the Nketiah one and the Aubameyang one right at the death. But yeah, look, I basically agree with what Raj said. I think the team selection, I don't think it was a bad team selection. I think he had to freshen things up. I think his hand was forced a little bit with no Smith Rowe. You couldn't really argue with him dropping Aubameyang, or maybe not even necessarily dropping him as such, but it's almost one of those where you take him out of the team to sort of take him out of the limelight, and you do what you did. You bring him on with a period of time to go. Maybe he came on a bit too late, but even the chance he got, he obviously missed. But yeah, and Xhaka coming back in, which was a bit of a surprise, but he had an all right game, I thought. He seems to always have an all right game. And you can't argue with Tierney coming back in. So, apart from that, I don't know if there's anyone else that you would. I don't know, Aaron. It sounds like you feel like the team selection, you're not very happy with it, is it?
I think the biggest thing I take issue with is dropping Aubameyang. I fully get that Aubameyang has been poor for the last 3 or 4 games, or probably even longer. You could even argue all season. But I still think he is by far our best striker. And therefore, the alternative here is you play Lacazette up top / although he did play a bit deeper and he kind of Martinelli played up front. I don't think Martinelli is really an out and out striker, at least hasn't shown enough in that role. I don't think, what you get with playing Lacazette up front is that you get a bit more in terms of ball retention and holding the ball up top, but then you get nothing in the box. So I think, given the fact that we don't have anyone else, I just think to drop our best striker is just asking for too much to come from it. Puts too much pressure on the rest of the team to fill that void. And I just, it seemed a bit reactionary and it seemed a bit over the top to me. And I think he overthought everything. I guess the only thing is, like, you could say that, he put too much faith in Lacazette and Martinelli and Saka as a trio to kind of replace what Auba gives, and maybe he has a right to expect that. But I don't know. I just think the drop off in quality that you get when you take Aubameyang out of this team is just so much. It didn't need to be done.
I mean, I think we can say that now, right, off the back of watching what we saw and in hindsight. But you wouldn't have been surprised if Aubameyang had played the whole game or whatever, the first 80 minutes, let's say, basically the whole game, majority of the game, and we'd be reacting to the game and talking about it with us saying, "Oh, Aubameyang was quiet today, wasn't he?" Like, that's just happened so many times.
Yeah. I mean, you're right. We could have
months.
Played this game and we could have lost. And I think Raj said it earlier, right? The team that we put out was good enough to beat this Everton team, because this Everton team been awful, like really, really bad. So there's no excuses. And I'm not saying we lost because of the team selection, but that, and then combined with the substitutions and kind of how we managed the game going forward, I thought just really didn't help us at all.
Continuing with the thing, though, it's a tough one, because I mean, the bit that I disagree with you on, Aaron, is I don't think it was reactionary. I don't think we could say it was a reactionary thing to drop Auba, because it's not like he had one bad game or two bad games and all of a sudden Arteta's got angry and dropped him. There's something that's not really been working for a little while now, and there's been a couple of games where he might have scored, but there's only a couple of games where I can think, oh, Auba's played a great game. I can think of the Tottenham game where I thought he had a great game. I can't think of that many games where but he's had a great game. So I'm not sure if it's reactionary, and I think that you said it yourself, which was correct, which is that I think effectively what he did is he didn't try and do a like for like replacement. He sort of said, well, if I have to change the system if I don't play Auba. I can't just play Laka in the same system as a centre forward and do all the same things. And there probably was a rationale where he tried to play Laka in a way where Laka, is going to drop deeper, do some of the things that he's good at, and try and create spaces and etc. for other players to run in. And maybe whatever it was, it didn't really work, right? It didn't work. But again, I think to Miles' point, I mean, what would you do at the end of the day if we played the same formation? If we play Auba up front and Auba doesn't do anything for 90 minutes, he's going to look. Arteta's going to look like a right idiot for not changing anything up, right?
No, I don't know. I just think we know what the alternatives are when we take Aubameyang out of the team. And we've seen that before when Aubameyang has been out of the team in past like periods. The team looks equally as rubbish. It's not like we've tried other things. Lacazette has come on and started scoring 15 goals. I think Lacazette scored one all season.
But Aaron, we can't say, so even if I agree with some of the sentiment there, like, we're going to have to move off Auba at some point, right? And it might not be a case where we can just get a striker that directly replace him and we can play the same system. Arteta probably has to try and figure out different systems and ways in which we can score to facilitate.
But did that need to be done today? I guess the question is, we know the alternatives are, in my opinion, worse. I think we just need, it just put unnecessary pressure on when it didn't need to be done. And I think
but when would have been a good time? I mean, can you argue that
playing when we have a better striker, when we have a better plan B, we just don't have.
So you mean all right? So you mean not trying it until basically we sign a new striker?
Yeah, I think there are players in this team, unfortunately, because of the lack of alternatives, are basically undroppable. And I think, in reality, unfortunately, Aubameyang is probably one of them, because the drop off in quality is just so much.
It's interesting. I mean, look, I personally don't think we didn't win the game today because Aubameyang didn't start. So I think when you look at it like that, I feel like basically, the players that we put out, there was more than enough there for us to win the game. And I think the other thing that we haven't talked about, and maybe a game like today makes us realise, is how big ESR is for us in terms of getting the ball from back to front. Obviously in the attacking parts of the game and in the attacking third, and he's obviously been delivering. Like, his output in terms of assists and goals has been there this season as well, and clearly we missed him today. And it would have been interesting to see if he had played, but with, let's say, Lacazette up front, or Odegaard alongside him, or whatever the options would have been, maybe would have been a different performance. Because I genuinely do feel like I don't know if you guys remember, the Newcastle first half was at home as well, was pretty flat, and then they came out in the second half and obviously turned it up a notch, and we ended up getting the win. But it wasn't a fantastic performance, and it felt like it was kind of a bit like, wasn't really a similar kind of game in terms of the balance of play, but it feels like it just needed that extra bit of quality for us in midfield or in attacking midfield for us to then create a little bit more, or dominate a little bit more in that part of the field, and part of the pitch. And I don't know, I'm not sure. I can't disagree with you, Aaron, in that Aubameyang's our best striker, but I don't know if he would have made the difference today if he had started.
We'll never know.
I
think
this season,
you're spot on. Then the loss of ESR was massive. I've said it for a long time that I don't think we've ever looked good when he hasn't played.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think, just generally reading around social media, people really appreciate how big a loss he is. And also, like, a player like Saka, I think those two are by far our two best players. You take them out and we are, we go down considerable levels.
Yeah, let's talk about some of the individual performances in a little bit more detail shortly. Let's cover some of the incidents in the game first. I mean, the first half, there really wasn't anything. I think we all nearly fell asleep, didn't we? I mean, it was genuinely a terrible half an hour of football, which got mildly better for 10 minutes, with probably the most exciting thing in that 10 minutes being this incident that I think no one noticed at the time, but suddenly it went to VAR, and it was the Godfrey stamp on Tomiyasu. I mean, Aaron, what did you think?
I think they analysed it quite well at halftime on Sky Sports, where I think Gary Neville said he probably did mean it, but it's very hard for VAR to send him off based on what they saw, which is you can't really prove he deliberately did it, because I think he covered it up quite well.
Do you think him not looking at him was
just the way he styled it out?
Yeah.
But I'm not too annoyed with that. I think I think it's just very hard to prove, and I think it's just unfortunate in the way it happened. So I think sometimes ref might give it, but I can also see why they didn't give it. So I personally wasn't completely outraged by that tackle. I thought there were others that were probably worse, for example, later on, but and generally I thought Everton were just really rough on some of the tackles, and some of them definitely deserved bookings, if not more. But for that one, I think I might be in the minority here, but I wasn't too annoyed by it, to be honest. Even though I think he meant it.
I think Aaron summarized it quite well. You by when you watch it back, the amount of force he generates. The amount of force it generates makes it look like it is deliberate, but his sort of basic where he looks, his sort of facial expressions, or where his eyes go, you can't tell. So it's probably quite difficult to send him off. But look, we look at it as Arsenal fans, and it looks like a bit of a harsh one against us, because he's been stamped in the face basically. So but 0-0 at that point. So still and a whole half and a bit to play. So.
The thing that makes it look a bit intentional is because he was basically dirty for the whole game, wasn't he? Afterwards, he only gets a yellow card, I think, after about 60 minutes, and he had made a lot of questionable tackles, particularly on Saka. I thought Saka was getting targeted by him for a lot of the game. But then we're getting back to that. So that happens. Things liven up very slightly, and then in the last 5 minutes of the first half, it all starts getting a bit crazy. we concede a goal from a set piece. Well, we think we concede a goal, and then it's ruled out for VAR. I mean, Mai's like, talk us through that. Did you think it was a foul in the first place?
What was the foul? Remind me, what was the foul again?
I think it was a coming together where it looked like, I think it was Laka who I think was adjudged to have fouled him in the end. It looked to me like they thought that Laka tripped him up, but I remember just sort of afterwards going through Twitter, some people sort of seemed to suggest that actually
I can't even remember the foul, to be honest. So I guess it wasn't in my mind at the time. It wasn't that contentious. Yeah, it wasn't that contentious. So, yeah, I mean, look, I think that was a big let off. It was poor defending. It was a good delivery, and obviously a very good header, but poor defending from us, and we just got lucky really with the offside, didn't we? Like, is it Tomiyasu just happens to be playing him offside at the far post because he's sort of been dragged further back towards our goal, isn't there's no plan of playing him offside or anything. So just pure luck really. But yeah, the warning signs were clearly there from Richarlison throughout the game, obviously.
Yeah, and then so that's Richarlison's first disallowed goal, and then a couple of minutes later, we referenced the fact that we missed CSR because, like in the Newcastle game, when things are a bit drab, you need a moment of quality, and really, like, for a terrible performance, particularly in possession from us, it was a moment of quality. Really, the cross and the finish were both really, really good moments, weren't they? I mean, Aaron, what do you think?
Yeah, it was probably the only bit of quality all game that we produced, for being honest, in terms of end product at least. So, yeah, really good ball in. Martinelli does well to kind of just hold his position and move some defenders away. And then, just a really, really good finish from Odegaard. So at that point, I was, it was so against the run of play in terms of what we deserved, because I thought we were awful. Like, I was literally in the middle of tweeting my rage about how bad we'd been that first half and saying we didn't deserve anything from that first half because we were so bad, and we went and scored. So yeah, I mean, it was just an awful first half nonetheless from both teams, actually, I thought. But yeah, we got the goal, and at that point we should have started to make something of the game.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It just focusing on the finish again. This is Odegaard's second goal in 2 games. Two really good finishes, right? The good right foot finish against United, good left foot finish. He's a player who brings a lot of energy to the team. Whatever the case, he works very hard off the ball. I thought today in the first half, there wasn't really much to shout about at all. But if I was to pick a player who probably played the best in the first half, it might have been either him or Saka. Was he a positive really for you in this first half? Could you see him becoming a player who scores goals more regularly? Can he get 10 to 15 goals for us in the Premier League this season?
I don't know. So I don't know if that question was directed to me.
Yeah, go for it, Miles.
Yeah. I don't know if he'll get 10 to 15. I think that's quite a big number, to be honest. And I don't think he's ever really been a player that scored a huge number a huge number of goals in his career, albeit a short career. No, he was good today. He was good when you look at, he was good. I guess when you say compared to a number of the other players, but I don't think he had an absolutely kind of storming game or anything. He was just good. He's a player that we all really like as Arsenal fans because of our traditionally the kind of midfielders that we've had going back to under Arsene Wenger. And he's quite similar to that. Very tricky player, always likes receiving the ball, kind of always on the half turn, quite skillful, and he's always looking forward. He's always looking for a through ball. I think the thing that I feel a little bit sorry for him at the moment is he doesn't really seem to have a striker to feed. And obviously that's something that we need to address in the next season or two with our current striker situation, and things may change quite dramatically for him. I could see his numbers going up quite a bit in terms of assists. But yeah, look, in terms of goals, like, fair play. And he obviously scored the free kick against Burnley a month or two ago. So yeah, we need that. We said this in the last episode, right? The strikers are not delivering goals at the moment. We need goals from other sources. So Saka, Smith Rowe, Odegaard, we're absolutely going to need the goals from these guys. So if he can get 10 to 15, then amazing. I'd be very, very, but I'd be quite surprised if he got into double figures, to be honest.
Yeah, I think you highlighted that point quite well, Miles, which is it's really hard to analyze any attacker in this system and their contribution to the team because of the fact that we're not really creating too many chances, at least not consistently, and then the chances that we do create, we seem to be missing loads of them. So, in isolation, the fact that Odegaard scored 2 goals in 2 games now is good, but the fact that they are only 2 goals is not so good. And just even the kind of wider context of this whole season, the fact that Smith Rowe is scoring goals is good. The fact that Odegaard is scoring goals is good. But, again, when you put them up with the fact that no one else is scoring goals and there are only goals that are coming this season, that's the bigger concern, which is like, okay, well, what is this? Is this system, is that the result of the system? And is that like the system over prioritizing these midfielders and kind of wide plays to get the goals in place of the striker? Or is it just the fact that the striker isn't scoring goals and these midfielders are kind of compensating and almost covering up that fact? And that's the concern for me. But then you're right, Miles, as well. Like the fact that if we have a striker, it just feels like it has the potential to transform not just the raw goals that we score, but also the players around that striker as well. So yeah, it's just such a huge position that we need to get right and fix.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if we had a world-class striker, and it's easy to say this, right, and it probably applies to a number of teams, but if we had I don't like using the term world-class, but if we had a top striker kind of in form at his peak, it kind of unlocks Odegaard, in my opinion. I don't know who that player is, and we're not going to talk about that now. But yeah, so I feel like he's doing all the right things, and you can see like when he picks up the ball and he's sort of 40 odd yards from goal, he is looking for the runners. He's looking for a runner through the middle, and he's looking for runners either side of him. He's always looking for Saka or Tomiyasu kind of towards that right hand side, and he will pick them out. Like he will make the pass like more often than not. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens with that, obviously. But yeah, like he had a decent game overall. That's all you could really say.
Yeah, but do you think an option for Arteta is still looking at, he'll look at Man City and he'll look at Liverpool and say, well, arguably, they don't have a number 9 who's smashing out 20 goals a season, right? They figured out systems to be able to get lots of goals from lots of areas. And granted that the players that they've got compensating in those other positions are world-class players, like genuinely world-class players. So fair enough. But just even from the case of a system, and just thinking that fine, we might not even want to get top 3, but let's just say if it's 4th or whatever, don't you think that Arteta can try and figure out a system which actually still gets us attacking more, creating more opportunities, like just being more progressive, even without a top centre forward?
Yeah, I think, I'd agree. I think it's not about necessarily getting a world-class striker in terms of goals. It's about world-class striker in terms of not even world-class, but a top striker in terms of fit.
Yeah.
And in terms of like, okay, well, what do you want a striker to do in this system? And what is the role of the striker? Is it to run in behind? Is it to drop deep? Is it, in reality, it's probably a bit of both. Is it someone you want to kind of go out wide for a bit to allow someone else to come inside? And, how do you want them to press? Do you not want them to press? And it's, I do say like, okay, look, Aubameyang clearly isn't the right fit, nor is Lacazette. But I do still have my doubts in terms of what is the clarity that they're being given from Arteta in this system. Because we're all kind of putting our hope on this striker coming in and fixing everything. But I think it's also fair to say, are we making the most of the players that we have? Because I don't think Aubameyang all of a sudden is a bad striker. Yeah, he's not finishing some of the chances, and he should be finishing those chances. That's not down to tactics or system, but maybe you could argue that you could still get more out of the players that we have, especially with Aubameyang up front.
Yeah, because we'll get onto it now, because ultimately there were a lot of missed chances, but like you say, for a lot of the first, for pretty much all of the first half, and a large portion of the second half, if we had a world-class strike, probably wouldn't have made any bloody difference because we weren't really doing anything to get the ball in the box or whatever. But just going on to the second half, it looked like we started the second half in a decent manner, to be honest. And then, as seems to often happen with Arsenal, we don't really capitalize on that. The opposition look like they've scored, right? And so Richarlison, he I can't remember exactly who it was that took the shot in the first place. But the shot goes and it's a great save by Ramsdale, right? That tips it onto the bar. Am I getting the order of things right? By the way,
no.
Yeah.
No, it was the offs. The offside goal first, right?
Yeah. No, this is the exactly. This is the right order. Sorry, I confused myself, but we're all good. So the shot comes in, great save, hits the crossbar, bounces out, and Richarlison scores the header. Which it looks like he scored the header, right? Oh no, hang on. The header was the goal.
I have one. It's been one of those nights. So the offside goal was he's put through. And he finishes it kind of in front of Ramsdale's near post. But that one,
So that happens. It's another marginal offside, like literally like a toenail. Looks like so we could probably consider ourselves a little bit lucky, but by the letter of the law, it's offside, so fine. So that happened, but still, we don't really take advantage of it. We don't really play remarkably better afterwards. It doesn't really guys us up. It seems to kind of G them up. They continue sort of growing into the game more and more, and then they do score their goal eventually. And it's Richarlison who gets a goal that the third time lucky, I guess, two offside goals, and then he scores this one. It was a shot, great save. I can't remember who takes a shot, but it's a great save, fantastic save. That we've become accustomed to from Ramsdale. Unfortunately, it goes off the bar and straight to Richarlison, who is onside. And I suppose it's one of those things where you can't really blame the defenders for not picking him up, can you? Because it's one of those, it comes off the crossbar and he just happens to be at the right place at the right time. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I wasn't too angry about the defending itself. Yeah. I thought actually he did really well to finish it and react. I'm sure if you're being ultra critical, we could watch it again and say, you should react faster. You should follow the shot in, etc., etc. But it was, I wasn't too annoyed by that.
Yeah,
maybe I should be. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I don't think so, mate. I think it was Damari Gray again for the shot that hit the bar that Ramsdale saved. So that was a really good shot, and it was another ridiculous save from Ramsdale. And unfortunately, it's one of these where it won't get mentioned because obviously they've scored from it. But it's another fingertip save, full stretch. And I think from that point on, there's very little you can really say. Like, I don't think you can really criticize us. The way it comes back to Richarlison, it comes back to him. He just adjusts really, really quickly, and does really, really well to direct the header back. And over Ramsdale and get the perfect amount of power onto it. But it comes basically right into his path. So there's no way that any other Arsenal player is going to get there first. So, I mean, I don't think you can really criticise us defensively for the goal specifically, but more so just generally the way the game was kind of panning out when we were letting Everton, dominate us, and we weren't doing what we should be doing in more often in games, just taking the game to the other team to try and, finish the game essentially and get second, which we just did not do.
Yeah, I just had to look back to refresh my memory of like how that second half played out. But so on the 65th minute, we took off Tierney for Tavares, which again, I think was a fairly logical substitution given the circumstances around Tierney's fitness. But I felt at that point, we really kind of lost control of the game. And then on the 71st minute was when we took off Martinelli and brought Eddie Nketiah on, which we should definitely discuss. And then they scored on the 79th minute. And for me, I felt kind of around the 70th, between the 70th and 75th minute, we were really under pressure. And I don't know what you guys felt, but I felt at that point, I was like, okay, I think we're going to lose this game.
It was interesting though, wasn't it? Because, sorry, carry on, go on.
Yeah, I just felt like we were just not in the game at all. We weren't winning anything. Second balls, the midfield was non-existent. Partey and Xhaka at that point, almost stopped playing. And it was just, the crowd were well up for it. And I thought, there is no way. I was like, we're definitely not winning this game. and there is a big chance of us losing this game. And you could see it coming. I mean, when they scored their winner, we'll talk about it. Were you guys surprised? Were you like, okay, that's against the run of the play, we totally didn't deserve that? I don't think we did, because we completely gave up. We just stopped competing.
I don't know about that, actually. I didn't. So I thought after they scored, I sort of felt then it became quite end to end, and it felt like both teams were trying to go for a winner. And I recall there being quite a few instances, particularly in the last 5 minutes before they scored their winner, where we were getting in quite dangerous positions. I think Odegaard a couple of times had the ball kind of in and around the box, tried to get a shot off. There were 2 blocks. It felt like we were still trying to do stuff. It almost felt like we came to life a little bit more after they actually equalized, but probably should have come to life between that disallowed goal at least and the point where they equalized. But it felt like it could have gone either way, and it was like you say, it was strange substitute. It's a strange set of substitutions, which maybe let's just reflect on that now before we just finish up. So Eddie comes on, and it's the second time he's come on in 2 games. It's the second time he's come on in 2 games before the likes of Pepe. He came on before Aubameyang today. It's also the second time in 2 games since this decision, apparently, it's come out in the press anyway, that he has rejected his last contract offer, and it seems quite clear that he's going to leave on a free. I think that makes it makes sense to me that he wouldn't sign a contract. I think it logically makes. But again, and Aaron, maybe because you were the one who I think was passionately surprised. Well, actually, I think we were all passionately surprised. But I mean, what did you think when he came on? Like, what rationale did you have at all?
None. There was no rationale to bring him on, and I'm still annoyed by that substitution. Because I think I read that before he came on at Old Trafford, he hadn't played a single minute of Premier League football.
Oh, really? Wow.
And then we brought him on at Old Trafford, didn't do anything, and I feel really guilty for having a go at Eddie, because he's an academy player, he's a young player, and all of a sudden he's being just thrust into these situations where I don't even think he thinks he probably deserves to be coming on. And then today, what has he done in his career, in his senior career, to show that he is the player that can solve the problems that we were having? He's not the type of player that's going to be able to run in behind. He's not the type of player that's going to be able to hold the ball. The only situation where he has proven that he can be useful is putting away chances, but we're not a team that's creating chances for him to put away.
Does it not end up looking like a masterstroke though if he ends up scoring that goal where he hits the post?
Yeah. It doesn't change the fact that I still think it was a bad substitution. And you mentioned, I think you mentioned this after the United game, Raj, where you said, I wonder if it's contract related. And I was like, no, we can't be prioritizing contract decisions over kind of football or tactical decisions. But I'm almost, fair enough, it happens 1 game, but to happen 2 games in a row in this situation where he hasn't come on at all for the whole first, 12 games of the season or whatever it's been, it almost makes me think, hang on a sec, maybe there is something there with the contract and the whole kind of player evaluation side of things, where they're trying to force something that might not need to be forced. Because again, there's no reason why. Fair enough that the Pepe situation is weird enough as it is, but there's no reason why you don't bring Aubameyang on before Eddie. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
it was weird. Go on.
Go on. Anyway,
no. Just to kind of follow on. It was really, really weird. It was weird when he came on against United. It was even more weird tonight, like you said, with Aubameyang on the bench. It was like because it was Martinelli who got injured and had to come off. It was like obviously Eddie played down that left hand side. I don't think I've ever seen him play there before, and it was like Arteta was trying to. I don't know if it's one of these ones where he's just trying to prove a point about Aubameyang. I'm not sure. By bringing Eddie on, it's almost like sending him a message to say, yeah, look, you might be our captain, you might be our highest earner, but that doesn't mean that I'm going to bring you on, or some bullshit like that. I don't know, but yeah, like it's just really, really questionable now that decision. Like Aaron said, you mentioned the contract. You proposed the idea of it being around the contract, and I was with Aaron. I was just like, it can't be, surely not. Like, surely not. He just must have really been impressing in training, and that may still be the case. That may still be the case, but it just like. I don't know. Like, we've had enough of this stuff, like as Arsenal fans the last few years, like the Ozil thing and like Guendouzi and fucking Mustafi and all these other players, like all these players. I mean, I'm probably picking on Mustafi there, but like there's been so many players where the contract situation has been like discussed and caused so many, like just so much, what's the word I'm looking for? Just
noise
problems for us. Just squad unrest is probably the time I'm looking for. And like it feels like now maybe this is another one. And I don't know if it's like a Mikel Arteta thing where he's really just trying to lay down the law for whatever reason against Aubameyang, or maybe I'm looking into it too much. But look, I mean, we've got to talk about the chance he missed as well, right?
Yeah, exactly. I guess there's a thing. You could probably turn around and say, yeah, bring on Eddie. I think we all agree it's baffling to bring on Eddie. Whatever the case, it's weird. We can only say that. It's bizarre if it's to do with the contract. Technically, it's possible that this is going to get up his tribunal valuation. In theory, that's possible, but that's still, I think, really left field. It's possible that Arteta probably looks at it and thinks, oh, look, he's going to want to put himself in the shop window, so he's going to be motivated to score, right?
But based on what? Based on like what? When has he ever scored goals? He's not in the team because, unfortunately for him, he's just not good enough. And he's shown that consistently, unfortunately, that he is nowhere near the level that we need him to be. In a situation, in a team which is desperate for a quality striker to step up and take that chance, he unfortunately hasn't been able to take it. So why, literally, in the last 2 games, we have suddenly decided he is the guy to come on and change things?
I wonder if some of it is just to do with Aubameyang's form, and he's going, well, like, he needs to give himself options, Arteta, doesn't he? If he's going to try and play without Auba, even in the short term, he's got to try something. But I'm just as baffled as you guys overall. I guess we did bring on Auba, and 95th minute, it's virtually the last kick. He gets a really nice chance, doesn't he, Price? Yeah. I mean, what? I mean, like, what do you think?
Both of them, right? Like, if we talk about both of them together, we have a go about, like, is it Eddie, is it Auba? But actually, both of them miss really, really good chances to score goals.
Yeah, I mean, this is as simple as, should Auba score that goal?
Oh yeah, I mean, like, it should be bread and butter for him. Like, there's nothing you can say. There's nothing you can say to defend him, basically, for that miss. It doesn't matter if he's in bad form, like that. I don't like using the whole, you're earning this much, therefore you should be doing what you should be doing. But like, you're
just say it anyway. Say it.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're captain of Arsenal Football Club. Whether that means anything anymore or not, I don't know. But ultimately, you are the captain. You're our main striker, as everyone keeps saying. You didn't start the game. You've been missing chances. You missed the Newcastle chance. You've been missing penalties all season. You've been pretty poor. Here's your opportunity to just go and make yourself a sort of a hero, because it gets us an equaliser in the game that we still should be winning. But, a last-minute equaliser is a last-minute equaliser, like kind of like what Lacazette did against Palace. And he's got, it's not a chance that's come at him at a funny angle, or he's got to adjust his body, or it's a volley or whatever. Like, there's no one near him. He's got plenty of time to watch it come. Like, Eddie does really well, actually, on the left-hand side, because he turns and he attacks and he carries the ball, plays a good ball, and Gabriel dummies it. And he's got all that time from when Eddie passes it to decide what he's going to do, whether he goes with his left and tries to bend it in, like, far post, or hits it with his right, whether he goes with power, whether he side foots it, and he just fluffs it completely. Like, he's not even close. Like, he's a few yards wide of the far post. And, like, I get it when strikers are not in form. A lot of the time they'll miss chances in games, and I guess that's why he's been taken out of the team. But at the same time, if you've been brought on for the sole reason of, if a chance lands for you, you need to take it in a game that we're 2-1 down in, or we were by that point. Like, yeah, you can't defend him. You just can't defend him. I don't know what's going on with him. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just a form thing, but just a shocking, like two shocking misses. Like the Eddie one was bad. That one was really, really bad. Yeah.
Then Arteta, do you think Arteta can turn around and say, well, you can all have a go at me for not playing progressive. You can have a go at me for, how we played in the first half, whatever. But I've made substitutions. We created chances towards the end, and my strikers really should score those goals. It's not my fault.
No, I don't think you can say that.
No.
I think fair enough if we're playing Man City away and we missed two chances in a really tight game. You can say, okay, fine. We had two really good chances. If we'd taken those, it would have been a different game. But those were like literally probably the only two chances where we created where we had a decent chance. I know that Odegaard had a half chance, but we just aren't creating anywhere near enough chances of high quality. Yeah, we're creating a few half chances here and there, but just systematically, it looks like the midfield and the attack just aren't clicking again. And we had this brief period where I thought we were okay. Even at Old Trafford, I thought we created enough to make it work. But today it was just awful. I thought, everyone on the pitch pretty much, except the back four, were just really, really bad at progressing the ball forward and creating chances. And that's on the manager. He needs to pick a team and coach them to say, this is how you guys should work together to create chances as a team. Mm-hmm. And we're not doing that.
But I agree with that, Aaron. And I think we started talking about this on WhatsApp. While I agree with you, I still don't think we should have lost today. I still don't think it was a game 1-0 up with how long? I don't know when we conceded the first goal, like 20 minutes to go or 10 minutes to go, something like that. 1-0 up, 1-0 up with not very long to go. And even at 1-1, the Eddie chance falls. And that is a sitter for me. There's no that's an absolute sitter. And then, okay, that doesn't go away. Then we go and concede. And then 2-1 down, another absolute sitter. And our world class, he's not world class anymore, but our best striker, number one striker, fluffs his lines as badly as that. Like, I just don't, however badly we played, there was enough chance, because Everton weren't particularly great either. I didn't think Everton in particular way. They didn't have much of the ball. I think we had most of the ball. I haven't seen the stats, but I'm assuming we did from watching the game. And yeah, like there were we better kind of, I don't know. I just don't think that for all the criticism that Arteta deserves off the back of that performance, and he does, and there are questions to be asked, I still think the players on the pitch could have easily changed the result, where we could have just snatched a draw at the end, or snatched a draw at the very least.
Yeah, I think maybe snatching a draw, but ultimately, if we had scored 3 goals from those 3 chances, that is us being really, really clinical. And just generally in football, it very rarely happens that teams only create 3 chances and take all 3 of them.
No, I agree with that. But then there were Odegaard did. He had 2. One where it came onto his right foot and he cut inside on his left, it got blocked, and another one where he hit it on his left and it was blocked as well. Like, they're probably
I don't think it's enough. I think
it's not enough. It's not enough. But then, I agree, it's not enough, right? We should have come. This game should have been us dominating possession and creating 20 odd chances, and 7 or 8 of them being on target, with Pickford being kept busy, and all of that. Like, that's what it should have been, based on the league table, based on the quality of our squad versus them, and all of that, and the predicament that they've been in for the last 7 or 8 games. The game didn't transpire that way, but then that's at that point when we should, those chances, at least one of those, if not both. I can't even excuse either of the misses. And I think just based on those 2 absolutely golden chances, they weren't half chances. One was a point blank header where he's got like a couple of, like, he's got the entire time the ball's in flight, and Ketty I'm talking about, to watch the ball come over. I think he must give Lacazette a shout to leave it, because Lacazette was about to jump and then he stops. So he's obviously made the decision that he's going to go for it, and he just completely screws it up. I don't know. Like, I know we could talk about this to death, right? But like, both chances and the Aubameyang one, I just feel like there's no excusing those misses. So it could have been Arteta in charge. It could have been Pep Guardiola. It could have been Arsene Wenger. It could have been any legendary manager, like if they're the players that you've got at your disposal and they're missing those sorts of chances, when you are opening up the defense, like when you are getting a player like Saka on the ball and he's putting a quality delivery like that, when you are getting Aubameyang into space to hit a shot across the keeper and just put it in the corner, and they're not doing it, I don't think that falls on the manager personally. I think overall the performance does, but I think when you're missing those sorts of chances, that just falls on the players and the individual.
Fine.
And I think that's when it comes back to the quality of the players, like you've been saying, and Nketiah is just not good enough. So, like you look at yesterday, right? Not yesterday, Saturday, Liverpool, 0-0. They bring on Origi, right? And a lot of Liverpool fans, like I've got a few Liverpool mates. I don't know if your Liverpool mates are the same, but they don't rate Origi. They completely like rinse him, not rinse him, but they take the mickey out of him as being a pretty substandard player. But Origi comes on and with a much harder finish or harder chance. It's not even a chance really because he's back to goal. I don't know if you guys have seen the Liverpool winner from the other night. Back to goal, and he basically creates a goal out of a half chance when he receives the ball. And I think that's partly the difference where we're bringing on someone like Eddie and expecting him to do a lot, and they're bringing on a guy who scored in the Champions League final, for example, and he's a regular for Belgium, international footballer, and he doesn't make their first team because they've got such good players besides him. So that's where maybe go on.
No, I think I agree. I think we've, based on the quality of chances that we did have, even though we had very few, we should have taken more than we did. However, I almost think actually that would have papered over some cracks.
Oh yeah, and absolutely can't disagree with that.
The performance itself was, in my opinion, atrocious.
It was.
And if we had come away from that, there's a situation that we take those two chances and we even win the game. And even then, I would say actually maybe we have. I mean, it's almost like glass half empty, half full type situation with our season, which is okay. You look at it from the fact that you say, okay, we're in and around the race for a top four. We still are, and therefore that's really good. Or you look at it and say, actually, like the games and the points that we have got, they've been in situations, and most largely in situations where we have, taken the 2 out of the 3 chances that we've created and come away with the 3 points. And I don't know what the right answer is and how to assess this team, but you can't escape from the fact that a lot of our points have come from situations like you described, Miles, where we create 2 good chances, we score those 2 chances, we don't do anything else, and we come away with the 3 points. It's very rare that we deserve to win games nowadays, purely on the basis of performance, because we're just not performing at that level. I said this last week. I said, look, I thought we'd win, but I thought we won't deserve to win. That we're not good enough to kind of dominate teams. But today we didn't dominate, but we also lost the game, and that's a bigger concern.
Have you learned anything new about this team after today, or has your mind changed about anything? Miles, do you want to go?
Yeah, I think like after the defeat at Old Trafford, like I was saying earlier, I think this was like a bit of a crux game for the team, for Arteta. It was all about the reaction off the back of quite a disappointing defeat, and I think, like I said, the other teams winning earlier in the weekend, it probably did put a bit of pressure on us. I'm not making excuses. I'm saying maybe this is how the players came into it. But look, to answer your question, I think it has slightly altered where I see this team compared to before the United game. Like I genuinely did think, because the defense had been so solid in general terms across the last like 10 games or so. And I guess maybe it was just a case of like everything was looking really, really good. Not everything, but results were looking really, really good. And I didn't think we'd lose at Old Trafford. I didn't think we'd lose today. So the game today, I kind of accepted the Old Trafford defeat on the basis that we would win today, and I did think we'd win today. And I think it's a bit of a reality check for me and probably a lot of Arsenal fans. I don't think it's like a season-ending defeat, or it suddenly means we're a really, really bad team. I think there's still huge positives, and there's still a number of things that you can not necessarily take from the game, but you can take from sort of if you take this where we are now in the season as a kind of a reflection point, there's just so much to work on. But there are still a number of positives. So I'm still fairly optimistic that we can do something this season. But I think where 2 games ago I was kind of thinking, oh yeah, I think we've got a right good chance of getting top 4 this season. I think now that expectation's been tempered slightly, where I'm sort of thinking, I don't think we'll be better than United this season. I don't think we'll be. I don't know about Spurs, a bit of a weird one with Spurs. And I think West Ham, I don't know if they can maintain it, then fair play to them, but they're absolutely flying. And they just seem to think with the West Ham, they're going to slip up, and then they have, obviously, but them beating Chelsea is a bit of a statement from them. So I just think when it's only one Champions League place that we're going for, like that everyone's going for, I think it's going to be really, really tough. So for me now, it's more about progression from last season, and like top 6, I think is the target, and a cup I think would be nice. Obviously, yeah.
I mean, anything to add to that, Aaron?
Yeah, I think I learned a lot, and not learned a lot, but my concerns about Arteta have re-emerged to a certain extent, which was, I thought he did this a bit at the start of like last season, and especially maybe the first couple of games as well. But there were mitigating circumstances at the start of the season anyway, where he just made weird decisions that were just either him overthinking it, or trying to be too clever, or trying to maybe had some kind of ulterior motive. And he almost stopped doing that for a bit. And, he went through, like, we were quite clear on, who our best team was. And he started playing that team, and he stuck with that team. But today, it just felt like he really, pretty much got everything wrong. And actually, when you start making bad decisions, and then, the doubts emerge about, okay, well, has he really figured out how to get this team to attack properly? Has he really got this midfield working as it should do? Again, I'm still fairly confident on the defenders that we have and the defense we've built, but is that coming at a cost of maybe not having a fluid attacking system? And that's where I have my concerns. And, the only, I want to say, excuse he has is that the striker situation isn't ideal for him. And, if he does get a striker in, and when that, it might not even be this January, it might have to be next summer. Can we wait that long for this to fix itself? Do we have to give him till next summer? Or, how long does he have to get this attack firing? Because if it carries on like this, we're gonna start dropping a lot more points.
Does he have one more excuse in the big central midfield signing that he made, that he could probably say as a rookie coach that, do you know what, if I need someone to really know who they're doing, what they're doing, if I'm going to put money on someone really, really understanding what it takes to kind of lead a team or run a midfield or run a game, I've signed this one ready-made pro from Atletico Madrid. Does he have an excuse in thinking that guy is just now, I think, unequivocally Arsenal fans are united in saying that he's just seriously underperforming?
What do you think, Raj? Because be interested.
Well, yeah, I mean, I thought against the United game, I think what I said then was that the big concern for me is that it's not even that he's inconsistent over a season. It's not that he has one good game and a bad game and a good game and a bad game. It's just this whole, it's just he's inconsistent during the game. During the game, he's every game he's doing things which look really good, and then having moments of just being terrible, and that's happening every game. And that was my concern against United. I take it a step further. It's funny, really, isn't it? Because before this game, he seems to have been gave an interview where he was really reflective and honest, and he basically turned out and said, well, I rate my career at Arsenal so far as 4 out of 10. My performances is 4 out of 10. I'm like, okay, well, so you realise that you're not playing well. And then today was one of the worst performances I think I've seen from him, and that says something. I don't think there was anything that he did today that I thought was really good. I thought he was doing all the absolute nonsense things that we almost kind of were shocked by against United. He was doing them consistently today, just silly passes, miscontrolling the ball, just bad decisions, no leadership. It's not progressing the ball in any way, not dominating that midfield in any way. Basically, consistently putting us in worse positions than we were when he received the ball. To be honest, like I think, geez, I mean, you know, fine. There's a lot that I do. As I said right at the beginning of the episode, there's a lot that I do blame Arteta for in terms of today's performance. But mate, you can't legislate for a player of that experience at the peak of his career. You can't legislate for someone being that rubbish. That was one of the worst.
Yeah, I agree. He's been awful. I don't think Xhaka was that good today either. But then isn't that on the manager to deal with? You know, I saw a stat today that, you know, Ainsley Maitland-Niles had that man of the match performance against Watford. Since then, he hasn't played a single minute. Lokonga, I'm not Lokonga's biggest fan, but he's been playing reasonably well over the last couple of games. Could he have come on today? So yeah, ideally you do want your £50 million signing to perform, and not just perform, but perform at a high level, especially when we need our midfielders to step up. But that's still on the manager. Ultimately, that's the reality of football.
It's a hard one for Arteta, isn't it? Because like the Ainsley Maitland-Niles one is a bit of a weird one. But it's kind of like what you said about Aubameyang, Aaron, and where you can't really legislate.
No.
You can't legislate for Arteta dropping him. I guess Arteta's probably feeling like he's, as bad as he's been playing, maybe after this game he might think differently, but as bad as he's been playing, he's almost like not undroppable, but without Xhaka, he probably was undroppable. Like he probably doesn't want to go with a midfield of Maitland-Niles and Lokonga, for example, in a game like tonight. But yeah, look, just on Partey in general, like, yeah, you guys summarized it, and it feels like this is like every game now we're saying the same things about him. I mean, like even the goal, their goal came from that throw in.
Yeah,
like it's just ridiculous. And like I don't know if you guys have noticed this, and I don't know if this is what happened today with the throw in, but Tavares, when he takes the throw in, have you noticed that he absolutely he chucks the ball like at serious pace?
No.
Have you not noticed this? Like the way he throws it, like I'm not going to do it, yeah, but. Like we had Bellerin who couldn't take a throw in. This guy seems to be kind of similar. He can take one legally, but he throws it with a fair bit of force. And I don't even think he did today, because I think Partey was like a couple of yards away from him. But that has literally cost us today. That poor pass back to Tavares, and like it's not a difficult thing that he's had to do. Like it's bloody basic for a professional footballer to just like take a touch and pass it back, or first time just I'd rather he'd knocked it into Rosette, because that would have probably meant they didn't score. Like so and he had another one of those shots today from like 500 yards. Like I don't know why he thinks he's capable of scoring a screamer every time he gets the ball when we're like trying to build up play. And yeah, everything you said, Raj, about just like passing and putting us into danger. He puts us into danger so much. Like it's really worrying. It's more worrying. Like it's just worrying every time we see him play. He's like dallying on the ball. He doesn't realize there's a man around the corner about to tackle him. And yeah, like really bad passes in central midfield that are just opening us up. So I don't know, like it's kind of like Southampton at home at the next game is a game where you feel like, okay, you've got to play him again and hope he kind of plays himself into some form and kind of dominates. I don't know who Southampton would have in central midfield, like Ward-Prowse and Romeu, I think, maybe. I don't even know who they play in central midfield anymore. But like a home game like that, you'd want him to start. But at the same time, again, similar to Aubameyang, if he got dropped, you wouldn't be surprised, and I wouldn't be too upset. I wouldn't be upset at all. I'd be really happy to see like Maitland-Niles and Xhaka or Lokonga, you know, a combination of those guys. So yeah, again, like we said this last time, right? Just extremely worrying. Like, I don't know what's going on with him.
Aaron, and do you think part of the problem is that with Arteta, he can turn around to Auba and say, well, look, you know, he's in his 30s. I need to transition away from him, whatever, you know, so I can maybe get away from dropping him. And he can look at Pepe and go, I didn't sign him, not my player. Like, I never wanted him. It's his issue that Partey was his big player. It was his first real big signing. It's the one that he chose to spend that summer pursuing, not going for an alternative. Well, we assume so, and on deadline day. Do you think because of that, he's putting himself under more pressure, or not more pressure, but is he more reluctant to drop him? Because if he drops him at this age, he's at that peak. It's difficult, isn't it? Because you're kind of saying, I give up to some degree.
Yeah, it is a tough one. I think that the tricky bit is a bit like Aubameyang, is that the drop off in on paper quality between Partey and everyone else is quite big. Obviously, with Partey playing like he is now, actually bringing someone like Lokonga or Ainsley Maitland-Niles on probably wouldn't be so bad. But then it's almost, well, if you do drop him, you almost admit defeat and saying you're not going to get the best out of him ever. Same with Aubameyang, right? That when you do drop him, you're saying like, well, we're just going to have to settle for what's next best because we can't get the best out of him. And the irony is actually, I was thinking when you mentioned those players, all three of them are going to be gone in January for the African Cup of Nations. So,
that's a really good point.
Yes. We're not going to have Pepe. We're not going to have Partey. We're not going to have Aubameyang. So, we'll find out very quickly how good we are without them. So, but no, I wouldn't drop Partey for a very similar reason why I wouldn't drop Aubameyang, is that I almost think that it's at the stage now where we need to play them into form because the alternatives just aren't there.
But given African nations, can you see us thinking, well, actually, what's the point in trying to play them into form if they're going to go in January anyway?
No, because we have a lot of games between now and January. Well, I don't know when they go off, but like we have that busy Christmas period. Probably between them, we've probably got 6-7 games. That could make or break the season. I mean, it's going to be tough when they go anyway, but at least then you maybe hope the other teams around us will also have a few players missing as well. Yeah. So yeah, I wouldn't. We desperately need Thomas Partey to find form. No, and I think the only way he doesn't seem to me to be the type of player who will respond well to being dropped and coming in and playing a blinder. I think he just needs to play minutes because he's been injured as well, been in and out of the team historically. He just needs to find that rhythm and find it quickly.
Agreed. Look, and I think we're going to have to wrap up in a second, but just before we do wrap up, let's very, very quickly think about Southampton. Look, I guess one of the good things is that our home form still is pretty good. I mean, it's a way that all of these car crashes seem to be happening now. What you guys think? Do you think we will bounce back against Southampton?
I think we have to. I don't want to think of the alternative.
Yeah. I mean, I can see us winning. I am massively concerned that the performance isn't going to be there again. So I can see us getting the result because I think, we're a better team than Southampton. I think they're kind of struggling down the bottom of the league, aren't they? Sort of fifth bottom or something like that. So, I think, definitely can see us getting a result. I'm not sure it's going to be convincing or, the kind of performance that we all feel like that we need and that we are hoping that we're going to get. It might just be a case of let's get a win and get the confidence back going into the West Ham game, I think, which is after that. I could be wrong, which is obviously a huge one. So, it feels like it is that. I thought today was going to be that, to be honest, on the back of United. I thought today was going to be, go and get the win and, get the confidence back, get the morale back up, and then sort of season kicks on again, and that hasn't happened. So I feel like this game now on Saturday, it's another must win, but it's a must win for the same reason that we need to get 3 points again and get the season back on track.
Yeah. What about you, Aaron?
Yeah, I'd agree. I think like I said, the alternative of not winning is a big concern. We absolutely have to go and win. And, in terms of the wider context of the season, I know straight after a defeat, it's, very easy to think, okay, everything's rubbish and we're going to finish 8th. We beat Southampton and we beat West Ham at home, then I think the table will look a lot more favourable to us. And, just as we can drop points, everyone around us, maybe except West Ham, I still think have the ability to drop points out of nowhere. Man United could still do it. Tottenham could still do it. And the team that finishes 4th is going to be the team that manages to put a win, like a run of wins together consistently. And so far, I think West Ham have shown that they're most likely to be able to do that, especially if they're now capable of going and beating the bigger teams.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if they can do that come January, February, with Europe still going on and stuff like that, that will be really interesting. But again, we just need to find form, put these wins together, and we still have the potential to have a good season. The big doubt is, well, if there are more performances like this in the system, then it's not going to be a question of 4th or 5th. It could be a question of 7th or 8th.
Completely agree. And to be honest, I don't think I've got anything to add from those. I think it's a must win. I'm just I'm really worried to think about the alternative. Look, I think we'll leave it there. It's been a pretty long episode, this one. I felt like we had a lot to get off our chest. I hope we can all sleep better. I mean, if anything, even if this isn't a good listen, this has been decent therapy for the three of us, right? So let's
it's a recurring theme.
let's take the win in that context. But anyway, look, thank you everyone. Aaron, and thanks obviously as always, and thanks everyone for joining in. Appreciate. It's not always nice hearing and reading and associating yourself with Arsenal after a defeat, let alone 2 back-to-back defeats. So really appreciate you joining in and listening to our conversation. Take care, and let's hope for a good result against Southampton. See you, boys.
Cheers, Rod. Cheers, boys.
See you, bye.
See ya.